Wherever I'm indebted to you, silence. It's what you giving me. Vision blurry, found my purpose, perfect timing. Left behind my burdens, I was drowning. Forever I'm indebted to you, silence. It's what you giving me. Feeling worthless on the surface, though I'm smiling. But pressure tastes the cold and makes a diamond. Now I know what I gotta do. See when my back against the wall, I switched to red form. Since then, tell them I suggest somebody pray for him. I twist the pressure on the dresser while I'm yawning. Cause life a test and the stress of having morning. But would they miss me if a nigga bit the dust? You say you love me, is there something I could trust? I take a leap and hope you catch me when I reach the bottom. But paranoia got the best of me, it's hard to climb it. And I know I ain't really living right. See, life's a gamble every day, a nigga roll the dice. I know you saw it from the moment you looked in my eyes. My cries will help, don't echo back since you've been by my side. It's been a minute since I seen the light. My eyes adjusting to the brightness in the rim of sight. You showed me something that I never knew, and I can never pay you back for all the things you do. You give me silence. It's what you giving me. Vision blurry, found my purpose, perfect timing. Left behind my burdens, I was drowning. Forever I'm indebted to you, silence. It's what you giving me. Feeling worthless on the surface, though I'm smiling. But pressure tastes the cold and makes a diamond. Now I know what I gotta do. See, I don't wanna leave it, see, I gotta go. You gave a nigga win, so now I gotta fly. I promise I return, but when I do not know, the only limit I can see is in the sky. Remember when I felt that time was running low? I saw the light was fading, I ain't wanna die. You'll always be my anchor while I keep afloat. Abandon what we started, what I won't do. A product of the struggle that we go through. But what don't kill you, build you as you grow. Losing battle, fighting what the hope do. Yeah, ain't no backing down, just so you know. Silence, it's what you giving me. Vision blurry, found my purpose, perfect timing. Left behind my burdens, I was drowning. Forever I'm indebted to you, silence. It's what you giving me. Feeling worthless on the surface, though I'm smiling. But pressure tastes the cold and makes a diamond. Now I know what I gotta do. Silence, it's what you giving me. Vision blurry, found my purpose, perfect timing. Left behind my burdens, I was drowning. Forever I'm indebted to you, silence. It's what you giving me. Feeling worthless on the surface, though I'm smiling. But pressure tastes the cold and makes a diamond. Now I know what I gotta do.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. Welcome to the Uninformed Fan. I am your host, Tyson. With me, as always, Jeffrey. We're going to break down the U.S. Open, the Bradley Beal trade, and the Gators are rolling into Omaha. We're also going to break down a little bit of the college football projection going into it. We got a big show for you today. Welcome in. Jeffrey, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, Tyson, coming off of a great weekend, great Father's Day, celebrating another holiday in our country today as well, Juneteenth. Happy to all who celebrate out there. Appreciate all of our listeners tuning in as well, too. Justice, we're happy for your justice over here. Love you, buddy. Happy Father's Day. Hope it was a great one for you as well, too.
Justice.
Yeah, it was a great weekend, man. Friday, had the day off. We got out and got to play some golf. It was me, Paul, Chad, the country club boys, Gap Wedge Wednesday boys, Bad Burrito boys, and then we had Jeremy joining us as well too, our producer, who's in here as well. Got out, played Orange County National where they held the Live Golf Tournament at. We played the other course, Panther Lake. I like to set up a lot better, much easier. Had a great time out there. Won a little bit of money. I had my 10 cup moment. I've never broken 80 before in my life on the golf course. You have many, many times in your life. But I go in. I'm 1 over through 6, right? Coming into a par 5, number 7. I'm like, all right, we're rolling now. Putter's vibing, driver's on. I tug my driver a little bit left. Okay, it goes into the waist area. All right, whatever.
Wait, is this the one that the boys were referencing off of the tee shot that we saw, where Rory hit it like?
No. This is a different one where I always play like everything is pretty much lateral, but when you play with Paul and Chad, they are very by the book. So there was another hole that we had where I ended up, I hit my ball left, and Chad goes, "Ooh, that's OB, you got to re-tee." And I go, at this point, me and Chad had turned a private game into me against him. And he goes, "Oh, it's OB, got to re-tee." I'm like, "Seriously?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right." So I rip a drive, hit a wedge, make a 15-footer for bogey. Anyway, I digress. But this
bogey,
I mean, dude, I was pissed. Like it was there was no happiness behind it. I was pissed. But this hole, right? So ball goes in. Okay, whatever. We're 198 out from the green on a par 5. Now wind is into our face. I'm like, you know what? I have this in my back. Not a problem. You know what? In fact, I'm gonna hit a 3-wood just to make sure I'm good. Well, 4 balls later. And you know what the worst part is that like the first one goes in, whatever. The second one goes in. Paul's screaming at me from the fairway. I go, "Whatever, Paul." I take out a 9-iron, right? I'm like, you know what? I'll just punch it out to the fairway. Goes in the hazard.
But did you hit it in the hole on the last one?
No, I ended up making it a 10 or 11 or whatever it was.
So you're saying you didn't break 80? The streak is still alive.
Streak is still alive, unfortunately. We'll try to get back out there and do it again. But yeah, so that was a good day. We got done with that. We actually got to play some poker. We had 17 people registered for this tournament. It came down to me and Paulie par putts as well. You know how it gets, dude. When there's so many chips involved and everything's just a coin flip basically. So it was just flipping over and over again. Your boy ends up taking down, the side bets that we had there as well too. Then we went back over, played some pool, called it a night, and I woke up pretty sick the very next day, to say the least.
Would that be a brown bottle flu?
It was a little bit of everything. My boys have actually had a really bad cough the past few days, and we're trying to figure out what it is. It's always worrisome when they get a cough and you just moved into a new house, because you're like thinking like, is it the house? Is there a different variable that's been added that they didn't have before? So we're exploring all options right now as we speak. But it's just one of those situations. Well, how was your weekend? Obviously, you had a very much more somber experience going up for a celebration of life up in Illinois and seeing a bunch of family. How'd that go?
I mean, as good as can be. It's always nice seeing everybody, spending time with my family. I spent the whole time with my parents, so it was good seeing them. Got to see my brother for a little while. It was definitely good seeing everyone, reconnecting with people that I hadn't seen since high school. People I haven't seen. We've kind of figured out some of my family I haven't seen since my grandmother's funeral, so it's like, we gotta quit meeting like this type thing.
Yeah.
But,
be that guy.
But it was interesting. So on the way there, I flew Allegiant this time, which normally I would never fly Allegiant just because I have a Southwest card, which I have a lot of points on. But Southwest has determined that they are just not going to fly direct anywhere anymore out of Orlando. So I flew Allegiant out of Sanford. So I get up there. It's like an hour drive there. Get there, whatever. Obviously, there's no security. Straight through into the airport, into the terminal, waiting for the gate. Get called in to go to the gate. I walk in, and I purchased an exit row. And I did purchase the seat right by the door, by the front entrance to the door, right? Because usually there's still room there. Not on this
responsibility.
Not on this plane, my friend. Not on this plane. First of all, the seat was so close to the door that the curvature of the plane was literally right here in my face. So I'm literally looking into the curvature. And it's already kind of awkward because my legs have to kind of go diagonally just to get in there. And then they shut the door. And on said door is the slide that sticks out like a parachute to where I can't even extend my left leg. Can't extend it. I have my left leg pinned. My right leg's like hanging out to the right. And then I have a jackass next to me that sits like this in the middle seat. So, I'm like...
Bianca didn't go?
No. So, I'm like kind of like this, right? In this seat. Like, ooze back in here. And this dude's doing this. So, I hit him once with the elbow. Knock him off the armrest. Then his legs are touching me, right? And, he's one of those that, just sits with his legs spread open like he's got, some serious junk in there. There's no way that his legs can go any closer than, a foot and a half apart. So I kick his leg. He looks over and I'm like, you can see how much room I have here, dude. Like, give me a break. And he's like, oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. So anyway, I'm just fuming the entire time. The stewardess sits down to give her her little spiel, about exit road. She's looking at me and she goes, you look like you're having a great time. I go, does anybody in this seat have a great time? And she just kind of shook her head and left. So anyway, we get there and we get up and I'm standing up because I actually had to go to the bathroom once during this flight as well. And getting back into the seat was not easy. I had to go in like in an angle and ooze myself back into the seat just to get in there because, of course, the jackass didn't hey, let me move over to the side. Let me help you now. So I'm standing up there and the stewardess is like, I know this probably isn't, but, we were just dying laughing at you the entire flight. She goes, I told the steward that was next to me that, we might have a fight. Like, I thought you were going to knock out the guy next to you. Like, he was just completely in your seat. And I'm like, yeah, well, and then I kind of reiterated. Anyway, being nice, I'm like, I just determined that this is my life, and this is just the way it is for the next 2.5 hours. So I guess it's just, my life sucks for 2.5 hours. What are you going to do? Can't go around fighting the world. So whenever we get in, whenever, blah, blah. So I get into the plane on the way back. Well, first of all, after I sat down, I double-checked to make sure I was not sitting in the same seat on the way back whatsoever. Why is my camera fucking...
I don't know. I feel like my dogs walked into the picture and then your camera just went out of focus.
There we go. So I check and make sure I'm not on that one. So I got towards the back of the bus in the exit row on the next one in row 14. So I get onto that plane and I notice that the front row now has a divider and plenty of leg room in the same seat. So I had to do it with a different airplane. Regardless, we get there, we come to Orlando, we land in Sanford, and guess what's going on in Sanford on a Saturday morning? Thunderstorms.
Florida.
So we beat the Florida thunderstorms, and then I had to sit on the runway for an hour and a half because they would not allow us to dock because of lightning. They could not get the plane to the front. So yes, so that was a beautiful 5-hour incursion on that plane. So it was a great time. It was a great, just great to be home. Just great to be home. Great to be home. This is why I don't travel.
Well, so all right, so you got back yesterday, is that correct?
I got back Saturday.
Oh, you got back Saturday. All right, so
yeah.
Very short, short little trip up there. Boom, boom, see everybody, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Did you get to spend Father's Day at all doing anything that you enjoyed doing?
No. I did laundry. Well, I take that back. I did laundry, washed the sheets, kind of cleaned up a little bit, got everything kind of settled, just vegged out the entire day. Ordered a pizza. Watched a little Gators. I'm sorry, not the Gators. Yeah, Gators. Yeah, that was last night. Gators. Watched a little bit of the U.S. Open. Watched that little F1 action, which that was. We'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah,
I didn't get a chance. I didn't even know F1 was on. I'm sorry.
Well, if you would have watched the Wednesday show, you would have known that F1 was in Canada this week.
Oh, I do remember that a little bit. Yeah,
there
it
is.
But it wasn't affected by the fires in Canada.
Apparently not. Crazy thing about that, when I was in Illinois, I was affected by the fires. It blew in one night, and dude, it was crazy. You couldn't see 300 yards in front of you. It was crazy, just the smoke that was poured in. And of course, my wife, being the very concerned wife that she is like, "Oh my God, don't be outside. That's not good for you." I'm like, "Really? Inhaling smoke's not good for you?" Thank you. I'll have to make sure I remember that. But yeah, we did watch a little bit of the U.S. Open. What a finish we had. Ricky. Oh, buddy. Between Ricky and Rory, I just got completely crushed. Jeremy texted me, what was it, the day of, Thursday, and it's like, "Hey, Tyson, don't forget to put in your lineups." So I did my little research. I go strictly on...
What a good friend.
What a good friend he is, yeah. I go strictly on past performances, especially at majors, especially U.S. Opens. Unfortunately, I didn't remember to bring the country club boys information with us. I was sitting pretty, though. I had Rory. I had Ricky. I was looking good. And all of a sudden, this dickhead Wyndham Clark just comes flying up the leaderboard. Who actually is a really good feel-good story. But we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, Mike.
Well, it's just I didn't have him. So, it cost me money. Cost me the win. But yeah, what an ending. Let's start first of all with Ricky. And I mean, this has to be, one of the more epic collapses. I do believe that on a hole 15 of the 36 hole, he had a 2 or 3 shot lead, and then by the 5th hole of the fourth round. Sorry, fourth round. He had a 2-shot lead after 15, and after the 5th hole on Sunday, he was 3 shots back.
Yeah.
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 Sure.
And then he just never recovered after that. And if I have to listen to Jim Nance, was it Jim Nance? He sounds like Jim Nance. Talk about how hard this back nine is and how there's going to be no scoring made. And if he doesn't get anything done now, he's screwed. One more time, I'll have to turn it off. But thank God it's over. But what were your takeaways for Ricky there?
Yeah, Ricky is kind of Ricky's not a shoot par golfer though. I mean, listen, Ricky was in the position that he was in because he made the most birdies of anybody, I think in the history of the U.S. Open.
18 birdies
at one point. And the thing about it is that but that's the dichotomy of Ricky is Ricky also makes bogey a lot as well too. And I was texting with the boys separately yesterday because I got really frustrated as somebody who had Ricky as well too, and somebody who I apologize live bet Ricky, and as soon as I live bet Ricky, that was it. It was over.
Thank you.
So my bad. I do apologize about that. But it was very interesting to me because there were certain spots where I felt like Ricky. I think you mentioned this. Ricky was playing like he had a 2-shot lead
when he was down by 3 shots.
Bro, you're 3 back. You know what I mean? And I understand the thought process. And the back nine was extremely tough. If you look at it, Cam Smith shot 3 under par on that back nine. That was the round of the day on Sunday. I mean, it was incredible. And he was on fire, making putts from everywhere, and he was 3 under. So that's how tough that back nine was playing. When it comes to Ricky, though, it didn't really surprise me. I thought Ricky was going to perform a little bit better. The one thing that got me was the 130 yards out. He's in the rough on the left. And Wyndham Clark took this crazy angle that was very high risk, high reward, where he cuts it into a hole over the trees. If you watched it live, it was an incredible shot. Great drive. Faded it right in between this little gap in the trees into the fairway. Ricky's on the left. Ricky has 130 yards, though. Ricky decides that he's going to lay up. And not only is he going to lay up, but he's going to lay up behind Wyndham Clark, which I'm and I understand there needs to be a certain amount of yardage for you to be able to get the spin that you want on the ball. But at that point, it's just go for it, dude.
130 yards.
130 yards out. Even if you go over the green, you can still get up and down. You're coming down that big slope, which we saw everybody hit that putt coming home. Ricky instead, lays it up to there, hits it past the hole 8 or 9 feet, and still misses the putt and makes bogey anyway.
I didn't see this. How did I not see this? I might have been switching over a load of laundry or something. You're telling me Ricky Fowler laid up from 130 yards out?
130 yards out, dude. Laid up, and then laid up behind Wyndham Clark's drive from 130 yards out. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
To what yardage? 50?
Well,
60?
Wyndham Clark was 88 or 88, 89 yards, something like that.
So he hit a 40-yard shot.
like a 40-yard pitch into the fairway to where he thought the perfect position was.
Out of the rough?
Yes.
Oh.
Very thick rough. Very thick rough.
Okay.
So it was very, very thick rough. But, and I understand you can't spin the ball, you're 130 out. You know, the way the pin was tucked was, you know, it was an impossible pin location to get to. And, yeah, I mean, anyway,
that makes a little bit more sense, you know, depending on what kind of lie that is. But yeah, that is kind of crazy.
Yes.
You know, and then on the other coin, I also had Rory McIlroy, which I know that everybody was talking about fading. I think you were talking about fading him. But again, he just performs so well in the U.S. Open. If you look at his past, like 4, I think they were all top 10s. He just plays so well in these conditions. So I said, you know what, let's roll him. Plus, he's been in the spotlight. I feel like he has a little something to prove. He did come out and, you know, play some good rounds going through it. But his putter, my goodness. I remember, I think you commented on when they were on the front nine, the way that Rory's putting, you know, -10 might actually win this thing. And there was a little pushback from one of the country club boys, if I recall. And lo and behold, it come back out.
I think more of his comment was like, we all believe in superstitions to an extent. And it's like, so from his point, he's thinking like, we know this. Why would you even put it out into the ether?
Oh,
you know what I mean? Because then
you know
it's like,
whatever, dude. I'm over that.
Then Rory putts out of his mind, and you know it's because I said that Rory can't putt on the. Anyway, listen, this is actually multiple times that Rory has done this, and you know, and to get back to Ricky as well too. Ricky always being the bridesmaid, never being the bride. It's been really tough. If you look at some of the times that he's gone into last rounds, I was watching some meme that I saw or whatever it was about. It was just a breakdown of all the majors. It's like 8 different majors that he's been in the top 5 or 10 in that he's never won. So we're, you know, rooting for him to hopefully get there at some point. When it comes to Rory's just still, you know, missing this elusive fourth. And there's a lot of shots that Rory hit where, Rory hits the ball farther than anybody in golf, in my opinion. You know, consistently farther than anybody in golf. And well too, man. Like he hits that thing on a string. It's like a 5-yard draw, 5-yard fade, whatever he wants to do. It's absolutely incredible. My problem with Rory has been a lot of times has been his iron game, and we can blame it on his putting, which is fine. But to me, his proximity of approach hasn't been close enough where those putts have really meant something. The reason that he missed so many putts yesterday to me was that he just didn't have a lot of makeable putts. He didn't put the ball inside 10 to 15 feet a lot of times. So yes, he was lag putting up and then making 4 or 5 footers. There was comments that were made by Paul Azinger, and we all have our own opinions on what kind of a commentator Zinger is at certain points during the broadcast. And I didn't think this was one of his better ones at all, but he made a comment about how there was a shot, I think it was 17, Rory hit his drive left and then hit this huge 200-yard high cut over the trees. And he said, you know, the only person who can do that is Tiger Woods.
No, he said the only person that could do that in today's game is Rory. It's reminiscent of Tiger.
Tiger.
Yeah, it's just...
Which, sure. Like, I can say Cameron Champ reminds me of the way Tiger used to drive the ball as well, too. That has nothing to do with anything at all. The thing that made Tiger Woods so amazing was clutchness. He hit putts everywhere. Rory doesn't hit putts. That's been his bugaboo his entire existence, pretty much. In the PGA, we'll see what happens going to the Open, the next one coming up over there across the pond, and see if he can turn it on there. But again, just like last year when he played the Open, right? Wasn't it like the most historic round ever in terms of he hit every green in regulation and didn't finish under par?
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, like
I said, he was high. He had the most greens in regulations in this tournament as well.
Yeah,
but I mean, I guess like you said, when you're 40 feet away. But I thought his putter I thought his putter was close. I think it was a lot of misreads. You know, maybe a little bit of speed here and there, but it wasn't like he was just like missing the cut by 2 to 3 feet. I mean, he was rimming a lot. They were right there. They just weren't dropping, unfortunately.
His pace was great, man. His pace was fine, honestly.
And when you think about Rory's game, right, and you think about we're going on 10 years since he's won a major. I think 2014 is the last time he's won a major. Almost 10 years with his game. That is nuts, dude. That is absolutely nuts. when I look at his swing, it's just every time his swing just looks so good. It's so fluent. I don't know. Maybe you get it. But, you know, to your point as well as Azinger, my God, I used to defend him. I liked him as a player. I've listened. Obviously, I had a huge gap in golf coverage and listening, but I always heard everyone rag on him. And, you know, I never really got it until this tournament. And I only listened one day. The rest of the days I had it on with no sound. I only listened one day. And I was ready to come through the phone and beat his ass, dude. Wow, that was a terrible shot. He didn't start that near high enough. Oh, he's the only one that can do that. No way that ball's coming back. Why did he place it there? Oh, shit, look at that. It's going. Yeah, it's still going, but that's not really wanted it to go. It's going to work out for him, but, you know, like, bro, like, what?
All-knowing, all-being Paul Azinger, who was one of the greatest golfers ever to play. Wait, he wasn't. And this is tough for me to say as a Florida State fan and alum and somebody who went to school there, was born in Tally. Like, obviously, I'm going to root for my Tally guys all the time, but Zinger is just, man.
He's out there. Dude. And now the feel-good story, which was Wyndham Clark. And, you know, the more I started to listen to his story, the more I was really happy that he won. You know, this is a guy that came out of nowhere, unless you listened to the Gap Wedge Wednesday show last week, where the boys said this guy is on the radar. He's only won one time. What a great feel-good story with his mother. I know it wasn't Father's Day, but it was, his mother. But what a feel-good story. Had his family there. His sister he was really close with. The emotions that came out of him when he did it. Apparently, you know, he went to a mental coach. And for those of you who don't think that the golf game is mental, I'm telling you right now, the golf game is 80% mental, 20% skill. I'll fight you on that. And, you know, got a good mental coach, got his mental game together, and has really put it together. I've never seen somebody from around the greens perform the way that he performed with the rough, with some of the shots that he hit. The one that he hit where his ball was in the bank with the bunker, and he popped it up left, and that thing just rolled straight down there, rolling in all the 5-6 footers that he needed for clutch pars. When he was up 2 to 3 shots, I put it in the chat because I said, this is over. Of course, you came back with your jinxie thing, and I almost typed what,
Don't do that.
I almost typed what TJ said. You know, it was like, do you really think that anything I say has a deal of what's going on? And I'm with TJ on this point. I'm over that kind of crap. There ain't nothing. He ended up winning anyway, but there was a little bit of drama towards the end.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, God, please don't let this guy lose. Please don't let this guy lose. Unless it's to Rory. But please don't let this guy lose because I would feel a little bit bad. But.
And I think the moment that you typed that in the chat was he was in the middle of the fairway on the par 5. And he hits his shot, and his shot ends up embedded in not embedded. I'm not going to use the word embedded because that's a different Rory McIlroy thing that we can get into on that ruling as well, too.
Two rulings we need to talk about.
Which is crazy. But so he hits his ball into the waist area right there, right on the left, obviously. And I thought this was the turning point in the entire tournament because when he swings and barely hits that ball the first time, it could have all fallen apart right there.
I said this is before he even hit that shot. I put it out there. That I didn't give the win before that one. This is the one where I said this is where the collapse begins because I fully expected the weight of this tournament to come down on his shoulders, which it didn't. But then he whiffed, and then I was like, "Oh shit."
Well, it's interesting too, right? With him being, you know, all the storylines that we heard about him being best friends with Christian McCaffrey, and you know him being really good friends with Ricky as well too.
Took his putter,
being at OK State together. Took the exact specs of his putter. Like the whole story was magical, and you know the fact that he saw his mom, but that or saw his mom looking down on the whole round. He felt her there. It was incredible. But that moment of him that could have gone completely sideways. Instead, he gets it on the second shot, and then. To me, the best thing that Wyndham Clark did, and we saw this on the very last hole, was lag putting. He had so many different situations, and whether you go back to that one where yes, he's on the side of the bunker and he chips out, and Zinger says, "Oh, that's not where he wanted to be at all," and the ball looks like it stops and then it literally looks like somebody blows on it from whether it's a gust of wind or whatever it is.
Well, I would say the wind, since the flag was flapping.
Of course, whatever you want to believe in. Okay, the ball literally looks like it stopped, and then all of a sudden just takes one oscillation forward, and then continues down, and he ends up making the putt and making par. That was another huge moment as well too in the tournament. But yeah, I mean, coming down the stretch, it got a little shaky at certain points. The moxie that he had, the wherewithal, the heart to get this through. I'm really happy for Chad and Paul. Honestly, they take these numbers and they crunch them down, and they go through this whole process of everything, and they provide this information to us. But when they hit these big numbers, sometimes a 60 and 80, 80-1, these different guys that they put out there, and listen, not every pick is going to hit, right? Like Patrick Reed didn't play well this week. It is what it is. But you give yourself enough shots to hit on that guy, and I just, I've believed in them for so long, and I'm so happy to watch their success. And I know they had a phenomenal day yesterday after they won, celebrating and having a great time. And just shout out to them, man. I'm really, really happy for them, and a huge shout out to Wyndham Clark as well too. An incredible story, an incredible thing. We're really happy for you, man. Enjoy your time and celebrate. Skip this week. Go party for a week. Go hang out with your family, dude. Do whatever you want to do. An amazing tournament. Heck of playing. The touch that he had around the greens, the spots that he got into where you think this is it. He's messed up. Whether it's the par 3 and he hits that flip shot that goes up, whether it's the, what it's 16, I think it's 16 where he hits the ball left, but it ends up right there along that little bank, and he hits it to, a foot and a half and taps in for par. Like, there's so many situations where you thought this is it, it's going to unravel, and it didn't matter. He persevered through. You love to see that.
And I think that, again, that's just attributes to that work that he did with his mental coach, because most players, as we saw, throughout the Sunday round, would have fallen apart during those moments. He held it together and kept it going. Congratulations, Wyndham Clark. I didn't know who you were before this round, but I do know who you are now, and I look forward to many more wins in your future.
I think we love to, real quick, I think we love the fact that he wasn't emotionless this entire time. We saw what he was going through on his face, through his body language, through everything, but he internally kept up whatever he needed to power through. You see when he hits that ball on the par 5 that he made birdie on, he drops down to one knee because he's begging for it to get through that little gap right there, and it gets through. Just so many cool moments yesterday, and for it to be Father's Day for most of us too, relaxing and enjoying and chilling. Great time.
It was amazing to me too, some of the drops that we saw out of here. We already, I think we touched on a little bit of the Rory embedded drop. To me, an embedded ball has to do with when the grounds are not in optimal conditions, right? It's wet, you hit your ball and it plugs. Okay. Mm-hmm. Not if you hit it into the side of a bank. To me, that's a fried egg in a thing. To the fact that he got relief out of that. Not only did he get relief from that, but got it out and on top where he had his stance and his shot. I just, I feel like if we played by some of these conditions, all right, when I'm talking about conditions, I'm talking about where I hit a little bit left and it hits a dude and it bounces back in, right? Or if I hit it just to the right of the green, but it hits the grandstands and bounces back. Or if I hit it behind a tree, but also happens to be behind a TV tower.
Yeah, the shot link thing was crazy to me. I thought that ball was gone, and Scheffler just walks up, moves it past the tree because the shot link is in front of the tree. Like, what?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
You got a free drop from the shot link, but I mean, it would have hit the tree first.
Yeah. No. I listen. This U.S. Open, I loved it personally, just because of the success that we had with through the boys, and also for the drum that we had at the very end. What Sunday was, but overall, and I honestly, I thought the course layout was fantastic as well too. I thought it was fair. I thought it was challenging. I thought it was great to see the low numbers at first, and everybody comes back down to earth. And obviously they shoot 8 under on day one. The winning number ends up being 10. So there's the yin and the yang of the golf course as well too. But there were some numbers that you sent out as well to our group about the way that LA Country Club kind of has handled everything. And I understand through everything, LA Country Club traditionally been a very buttoned up. I think they said the land that LA Country Club is on is worth $8 billion or something like that is what I saw because of its location and where everything is. But it's been you can't wear shorts. You have to wear pants. They've like laxed on some rules since they had a new director take over. But what were some of the numbers that we had in terms of attendance and the way the vibe was the entire time as well?
Oh, yeah. I sent out the tickets that were on sale for the public. There was 23,000 tickets for sale in the general public, but 14,000 of them were hospitality. And if you've ever looked at a hospitality, let's just say this: the live event. Now I know it's not PJ, but just bear with me. The live event at Orange County over here was something in the neighborhood of $1,700 for a hospitality ticket. So you can only imagine what it is in LA at this place. There was only 9,000 general admission tickets admitted, which were the 9,000 that you saw running up the 18th green, which to me, I had mixed feelings about that.
I didn't like that.
It reminded me of the old days, right, when you used to be able to get up there. But I'm sorry, this generation, this era is not like that. And when I'm saying that, I say it with there's no respect in this generation is what I'm trying to say. I don't care whatever you want to say. Put me up against the wall. There was an understood gentleman's respect back then.
Yep.
While I agree, I applaud the attempt. When they were getting ready to hit shots and Ricky hit his last chip, there was a lot of noise going on, a lot of talk. They couldn't get the crowd to settle down. I do believe that they had police over there running, trying to get people out of the bunkers because they were running in the bunkers. They kind of cut back, but you did see the dust start flying when they come back. Outside of that, I did see where the not the PGA, the USGA honored the groundskeeping crew from the LA Country Club, which is something that they just implemented, that they're starting to recognize, and they had the entire grounds crew up there. That was pretty cool as well. But yeah, it was a very good, very drama filled. We didn't have somebody running away with it. It went down to the 18th hole. It went down to the last putt. I mean, that's all you can ask for. Unfortunately, I finished. Who was the RUF guy in our group?
Rufio.
Who's that?
Rufio. Do you remember him? So he played with Christian and George on Stepfathers for a long time. He was the catcher.
Oh, okay.
He looks just like Rufio from Hook.
I was just wondering because he's the only one that actually had Wyndham Clark in our fantasy.
Yeah, he had
pool.
Wyndham Clark in the pool. He was the only one who had him, but yeah.
Yeah, so I just didn't understand that. And I'm going to ask the boys on this on Wednesday. They picked him, they put him out there to 60-1, but they didn't put him on their team.
Well, I think, listen, you're going to pick whoever you want to at the end of the day in your pool, and not everybody's going to be able to fit into what you want. But I mean,
I agree. And I will say this in closing as we do it.
Rufio listens.
Yeah. Phil Mickelson at 2.24, whatever he was absolutely criminal. I took him, but he was way too high. He was like 0.1 off Brooks Koepka. I mean, come on.
Come on. He was going to perform,
I just did it for nostalgia. It's one of those
What
things.
did you think about the one last thing I'll ask you about, and then we'll move off of golf because I didn't think we were going to spend 40 minutes on it. But what did you think about the routine for Wyndham Clark and his caddy?
I'm unaware of it.
You didn't see it at all yesterday when you were watching?
You talking about putting?
Yes, yeah, the putting routine, about how he sits there, they line up his caddies. It's all completely legal because he backs off the ball before he walks up to it to address, which is basically the rule in the PGA. But it just seemed weird to me because I never see caddies standing behind the player, walking up, pointing to a direct spot in the line where the apex of the putt is supposed to go. Then walking back. Okay, that's your line. There you go. Walking away, and then he readdresses the ball, and then he putts it. It just I don't know. I don't. See that often.
I remember back in the day.
So.
It was I do believe it was Nick Faldo. Nick Faldo used to have his caddy line him up on the putts, and there was some things with the rules that wasn't really allowed there. Okay, Jeremy, I know. Okay, it wasn't Brooks, but it was somebody important that he was right next to. I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you. I didn't mean to offend Brooks Koepka. I don't know who it was. It was someone really close. Probably Xander Schauffele. I don't know. Scotty Scheffler.
Scheffler either.
But yeah, I don't like it. I just don't like the fact that I just think it takes too much time. TJ said, "Do you guys see this suggestion box? It was 30 feet high in a tree. Pretty much, they take no suggestions." I'm assuming he's talking about the LA Country Club suggestion box.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it was interesting. Shout out to TJ. Appreciate you tuning in, man, and listening as well too. He's been getting into golf a lot with us lately as well, in terms of some of the picks and stuff to hop on to. So we appreciate you and appreciate the comments.
Another hot topic coming on, hot off the presses. I know that Jeffrey's really excited about this one. We have an NBA trade, which usually after the NBA season's over, we don't talk about the NBA, but here we are talking about the NBA. And the Washington Wizards have agreed to trade Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns for Chris Paul, a bunch, that's all we know, a bunch of second-round picks, and something else. I don't know what it is. Now, Jeffrey...
There's also Landry Shamet in there as well.
Yeah, there's a couple other players, whatever. Nobody really cares about that. Yeah. But Jeffrey is up on his box hollering collusion and that this needs to be investigated, that this is highway robbery. However, we listened to Little Woj this morning who said this was a good deal for the Washington Wizards because it got him off the books. Jeffrey, I'm going to let you take this. I know you're really passionate about this. Fire away, my good friend.
I think it's an egregious trade. I think the NBA should change because of it. I think if we're going to veto something in terms of the Chris Paul deal from years ago, this is just as bad. And they need to investigate this because Bradley Beal's agent, his son, just became one of the higher execs or whatever for the Phoenix Suns on April 3rd. You're telling me that Bradley Beal comes out and asks for a trade 3 or 4 days ago. Okay. So you give it a 3 days time span. And I know they say they're up against the clock, July 1st, whatever. It's all bullshit to me. I think it's absolutely egregious.
Well, the July 1st is when that new bargaining thing comes in, the collective bargaining agreement, and they would not be able to make this trade.
Correct. So, to go back to what I was about to say is that I don't like the fact that you have a guy forcing his way out of a city. They need to rework these NBA contracts. I don't care about no trade clauses from players. The players have way too much power in this situation. You're going to pay a guy $50-something million a year, and he's going to tell you where he can go, when he can go there, how he's going to go there, and what the compensation package should be. And then it's all fleeced by his agent, who's trading him to his son, who's going to a superstar team with his father. His father's trading it to his son. His son
is the agent, right?
No, it's the other way around. The dad's the agent. The son is the exec, from what I understand.
Please continue.
Okay, thank you. I think it's an egregious trade. I think to get a couple second-round picks, Chris Paul, who's not going to play for you, that you're going to waive anyway. I understand they're trying to get cap space. I understand they're trying to become Oklahoma City of what Oklahoma City was last year, which is basically the way that you're going to build your team is you're going to be shitty for an entire year, okay? And this is Woj's take on it. This is why Woj said it's a good trade, is because now Washington is going to be a tax haven for any team that's trying to get rid of assets, that they're going to get rid of an expiring contract and throw in first-round picks with it as well, too. What are those first-round picks going to be? And why do we care about having 8 second-round picks for the next however many years? What do second-round picks provide in the NBA? Nothing. They're the 11th or 12th man on the bench. You're going to option them to go to the G League anyway. None of it absolutely matters. The fact that this deal went down, I think it needs to be voted on. I think it should be vetoed. There's no way that in 3 days you said, well, I can't get anything better for Bradley Beal, and this is the only place that he'll accept going. That's fucking ridiculous, in my opinion. Is there something else you wanted me to say?
I just want to make sure I got it all in, bro, because my man is fired up over this. Yeah, Justice, RIP to Chris Paul to ever get a ring. I mean, that guy, I don't know. You know what? Bring him to the Bulls. We'll take him at the Bulls. We'll take him on the Bulls.
Supposedly, what the rumor is that Chris Paul is going to get traded to the Wizards, and then from the Wizards, he's going to go to the Clippers. So you're going to have Chris Paul and the Clippers with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and the different pieces that they have over there as well too, to try to make a run next year. My thing,
and they did say,
how does this even make Phoenix even better as a basketball team? right? Okay, so yes, you're gonna have four players in DeAndre Ayton, right, who's softer than Charmin, fucking clown. You're gonna have Kevin Durant. You're gonna have Booker, and you're gonna have Bradley Beal. They're all three dominant ball handlers. None of the three play the point guard position for you. What are you doing if you're Phoenix? It makes zero sense to me. It's a terrible trade. And somehow it got facilitated by a guy making $50 million a year who's played an average of like 50 games a year for the past 4 years. And you're going to go onto a team. And how are they going to even sign these players? So then, because of the way the new CBA is now, right? They're going to be in that second tax apron, right? No matter what they do, they're not going to be able to sign any players that are on buyouts. They're not going to be able to sign people to the mid-level exception. Okay, you're going to get taxed for what is this? You can't sign any buyout players. You can't take on more salary in a trade than what it previously was 125% you could take back. You can't do that anymore. And you can't sign the mid-level exception guys. So no Dante DiVincenzo, Danilo Gallinari, Joe Ingles, John Wall, all those kind of guys are gone out the window. Who are you going to have on your team? Who?
They're going to have somebody, and Woj actually said that
a fucking joke.
Multiple second round picks do equal a first round pick. That's straight from the man. And as TJ just happened to point out, Jokic was a second round pick. So there can be diamonds in the rough.
Listen to me. I don't care what Adrian Wojnarowski says. His mouth is directly connected to the teat of the fucking NBA, okay? I don't care what he says, right? He makes his nut off of what they do. Bullshit.
You can turn all this around to your GOAT, LeBron James, and all of his bargaining and stuff.
That's fair.
This
fair.
This is what he wanted, and he said this from now on. The players need to have the control. We're the ones that bring the money. We're the ones that do this. You're nothing without us. We are going to do what we want to do. And here we go. But this is no different than the NFL, no trade clause or anything of that nature. I just think that the money that these guys are getting are absolutely egregious. I mean, $50 million a year to play basketball. I mean,
and listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not upset because I thought Bradley Beal was going to come to the Magic. All right. They put out a poll on Orlando Magic Twitter. Would you want Bradley Beal in a trade? And we're such a dumb franchise in the first place that 85% of the people said no, we didn't want Bradley Beal. Like, no, because we don't want like a top 10 scorer in the league to come in here and ruin what we got going on about almost making the playoffs. Nah, we wouldn't want that. Idiots. Fucking idiots, dude.
Well, I will say that, I think from the Washington perspective, it was just simply about getting Bradley Beal off the books to hit that reset button. And, $50 million a year cap for 4 more years. I mean, obviously that's going to open up. Who knows what other moves that they're going to make. The biggest loser that I got, is our man Ian here. The guy can't catch a break, trying to enjoy a nice Father's Day, just minding his own business. And all of a sudden, bloop, here comes the trade alert. Poor guy can't even just have one day in silence, one day in solitude over there in Washington, D.C. I'll tell you what, which, Ian, if you're listening, do we have the Bears tickets lined up yet? I gave you green light like 5 seconds after that. So, yeah.
That's a tough one for Ian, unfortunately. We made that comment too, and he I sent it out to the group, and he went off the rails a little bit.
A little bit? I mean, actually, it's kind of par for the course for Ian on anything. I wouldn't say
we thought about having him on today, but then it turned into...
Well, I mean, you hit it pretty good for him. I think that what you just did was a nice, 10 times less version of Ian. And Justice, everyone is stopping your Miami Heat next year. I'm sorry. That Cinderella story is not happening again.
So it looks like Damian Lillard is the one who is really getting pushed to Miami now. So we'll see.
Did you see that Miami tried to trade for Bradley Beal?
Of course.
They were giving up Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, some of those blue chip players. Trying to get him.
It's even more amazing that the Wizards said, we don't want your finals team. We'll take some second round picks and be absolutely terrible next year. This is the way sports are now, right? You don't want to be mediocre anymore. You got to either be absolutely awful and tank and not care about your fan base whatsoever and about being competitive, so that you can maybe hopefully get a good draft pick at some certain point. Because what free agents are going to come to you unless you have a commodity for them to join? Nobody.
Washington needs to be wiped off the planet. I would agree with that, but I'm thinking more of a political aspect. I think Washington.
Justice just said?
I think we can just take Washington D.C. completely off. You're absolutely right. Just kind of throw it in the ocean, see what happens. Yeah. Before we get into a little bit of college, we did have, fortunately, but unfortunately for Jeffrey, as he forgot, we did have some Formula One over the weekend. Saw a great race once again by Max Verstappen. It rained during the entire practice, which caused a lot of questions. A lot of qualifying was a little bit messed up there, but Max Verstappen once again takes it from the pole all the way to the finish for Red Bull's 100th win as a team. I do believe Max Verstappen has like 28 of them now or something like that. They've won like the last 9 races. The bigger story here to me is Checo, the Max's number 2, Sergio Perez, that once again just shows that he is not a top-notch driver. He is a mediocre driver in a superior car. And I think that Red Bull is going to be making a switch sooner than later out of that. He did have a couple good performances. Yes, he is sitting in second place, but starting 12th, we see Max Verstappen do it numerous times from 10th, 12th, even further down to come up and challenge for the lead. Not only did Sergio not challenge for the lead, it seemed like he was very content to sit in 6th place and get those points, which, I'm sorry, Sergio. Like I'm your guy. Like I'm rooting for you, and I'm turning towards Max now. Max has softened me up a little bit. I kind of like some of his demeanors, but you need to step up your game here, man. You are going to end up over racing for Williams if you don't watch yourself. I think that car is way too talented. You have Daniel Norris waiting in the wings. I think that you're gonna Daniel Ricciardo. I apologize. You're gonna find yourself without a ride pretty soon. And
he's still around, Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, he's the secondary. He's the reserve driver for Red Bull, which I like him.
So, how much money do you make as a reserve driver?
I'd say probably a couple $100,000.
So why would he not take on I don't know. I mean, he was with good teams. Right?
I honestly think that this is a waiting game. I think this is honestly a waiting game. I think that this is one where when Checo doesn't perform, he's going to slide into that car. He's going to be the ultimate team player because he didn't get a ride. Checo is still battling he wants to be a champion, which he's proved with the same car as Max Verstappen that he's nowhere near Max Verstappen. Couldn't even wipe Max Verstappen's butt if he tried. He could throw a piece of toilet paper and never get to him. That's how far behind Sergio Perez is from Max Verstappen. So,
first of all, throw a piece of toilet paper to get to him.
Yeah, that's how far back. It's not even going to come close. Not even going to come close. It's terrible. It's honestly terrible. I texted my cousin yesterday. I know he hasn't watched it yet. So, Clay, if you're listening, whatever, don't listen. But, I texted him the other day and I said, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm watching this race. He was at his daughter's softball game. And he's like, how's it going? But he also wants no spoilers. I don't even think he asked me how it's going. I just said, I'm watching Checo continue his mediocrity performance. And he's like, no spoilers. I'm like, is that really a spoiler? I think that's pretty much a given. To a touche is what I got back. But yeah, it's time to shit or get off the pot here, Checo. It's time. It's time to move on. So moving on, little college action here to wrap it up. The Florida Gators are in the World. Is it the World? College Baseball World Series. We'll just call it that. And they are absolutely rolling. They have not lost a game last night. Last night was also the first game that I happened to tune into. And when we talked about Jeffrey and Jinxes, this was hot on my mind. I turned on, it was 5-1. Then it was 5-3. And then it was 5-4. And that is how it finished. However, there was numerous times when, who were they playing?
How did I jinx it? I didn't even know they were playing.
Yeah, no, it has nothing to do with me. I didn't watch any of the games. Oral Roberts is who they were playing. And they had numerous times where they had the bases loaded. All the momentum was going Oral Roberts' way. Obviously, in the middle of it, I also put up the Florida flag outside. I forgot that they were playing in here because I just got home. And it was a very, very tedious game. At the bottom of the ninth, they'd already put one across the plate to get it a one-run game. They have 2 outs, bases loaded. The guy juices one over into left field. It's caught, game over. But it was a roller coaster of emotions. They do play again on Thursday, and they're looking very, very good to continue to move on as they have to be beat twice in a row now as they've gone undefeated. So shout out to the boys over there in Florida. I'll tell you, some of their pitching is absolutely crazy. I was watching one of the guys throw 98 miles an hour over there. I mean, that's pretty crazy. They do have a pretty stud pitching staff. I was also watching the coach. It was really amazing. You want to talk about drama, man. That dude, I've never seen that coach have that much drama. He was pacing in the dugout. He was chewing his nails. He was praying. And there was a lot of curse words involved, but the Gators did get it done. Moving on to Thursday and 2-0. Have you watched any of the College World Series?
So you mentioned that it was on, and I got done watching golf yesterday, and I said, all right, well, let me try to click over to just to see, not that I really care about the University of Florida and whether they win or lose, but I was like, let me just check it out, right? So I click over, I go to ABC. It's not on ABC. That's weird. I'm like, all right, no, on ESPN. It's not on ESPN. I'm like, well, that's weird. ESPN2? No. ESPNU? No. The Ocho? It's on ESPN Plus. For the darlings of ESPN, the SEC, the Florida Gators, one of the flagships, ESPN Plus. They're doing Sports Center on ESPN. It's like we're not going to put live baseball on,
And the SEC has 3 of the 8 teams in the finals. You would think that they were showing.
You would think, right? I mean, ESPN, they love you guys. We were talking about this earlier, kind of hoping I saw some things come up. We'll see. No, I'm ready to get Florida State out of the ACC. I am. I'm done with it.
We're going to talk about that one in just a second. I'm going to pause you on that one a little bit. One of the things that I was noticing on this, right, and I realize that Omaha is just like the mecca of College World Series when it comes to this. However, I remember talking to a couple that was from Omaha when I was bartending over at Boathouse, and I put this out there, and she about came across the bar. ESPN and the Worldwide of Sports in Orlando, Florida needs to go after this. We should have the College World Series right here. We already have a great stadium for it. We have all of the outposts. We have everything that we need. The hotels, the combinations, things to do. ESPN has the money. Let's get it. Let's get the college.
I'm going to say this. I think Omaha in, June? It's probably a little bit more bearable than Florida in June.
Correct.
Weather-wise. I'll also say this. The city of Omaha doesn't have a lot else.
No. The city literally thrives off this one event. And it's all nostalgia, right?
We will be okay. We will be okay without this, right? And they won't. The other thing is, too, is that so while that Wide World of Sports stadium is great, there is no bleacher seating. There's nothing in the outfield because that all backs up onto all the practice fields that are in the back.
You don't need it though because you've doubled the capacity of the stadium instantly.
I feel like they would maybe want some kind of bleacher seating out there. I don't know. That's just me. And yes, I
it'll probably
agree with the hospitality that you receive here and different stuff like that. That we provide is unmatched.
I mean, it would just be something else, as far as families and stuff you go to watch. Throw a little this in there, a little that in there. But
we'll spend another couple $1,000s at Disney.
It definitely would be more expensive for the families. That is for sure.
As opposed to Cattleman Steakhouse over there in Omaha. That's the first class joint that they have going on. I don't know. This is when I become the empathetic Jeff, and I'm like, God, dude, like you decimate a city by us taking that.
That is a good point. But like I said, it's kind of more the nostalgia thing. Out there watching these guys play, but it's very, 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 very quality baseball. Actually, I was a little surprised watching it at the level of the performance. I haven't watched college baseball in quite a while, but the Gators are moving on. They're looking very, very good. I mean, we're talking about in their bracket, they have TCU and Oral Roberts again, both with 1 loss, and Florida has 2 wins, no losses. Either one of those teams is going to have to beat them twice in a row to move on. So we're definitely liking the odds. I'm not going to say that they're going, but definitely liking the odds of them making it to the finals of the College World Series. And, just another thing to add another trophy into the Gator trophy case. It's kind of
we know a football one's not coming very soon, so.
No, that's for sure. But the track and field just won again. I think they were back and back. The gymnastics just won again.
Here we are.
I mean, everybody else except for football is just thriving in Gainesville. So you know what? Let's spend billions of dollars and build a new stadium and revamp the swamp because that's what's causing the Florida Gators to not be competitive. Bastards.
To be honest, that's what makes money.
Dude, the tickets alone make money. It's freaking egregious. I had to pay. I tell you what. So as you know, I of course, Jeremy chimes in. Apparently, there is more seats in the Omaha than there are here. There's 24,000. There's only 7,500 over there. So once again, Tyson's wrong. Everybody chime in. Get your woohoos. Get your golf claps. Do whatever. Wah, wah, wah. There we go. I don't even know what the hell I was talking about now. I don't even know. Whatever.
You were talking about money that.
Oh yeah. So my six games in the University of Florida costed more than my 10 games at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Hyundai Club section. That's egregious. Absolutely egregious. Absolutely egregious, which is why we don't go anymore. And half the time, I will say, if that 2024 schedule, I tell you, that could be close, but it's still not worth it. But, especially when I'm playing, 4 teams at home from, like, Division III schools. Like, that. Those are really great games that I want to drive up to Gainesville for. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you. And then you got the hotels on top of it, price gouging. Well, speaking of which, as we finish up this wonderful Monday edition, we kind of did leak in. We kind of jumped over a little bit. We're talking about the mergers that are happening in college football and the games that are happening. We kind of looked a little bit past the 2023 schedule. We looked a little bit at the 2024 schedule that has come out for some of these teams. And I sent it on the group chat. And this is the Florida Gators schedule, the 2024. We have at home Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. Away we have Georgia, Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Texas. I sent that out there, and I said over under 2.5 wins. That is an absolute gauntlet of a schedule. And we are also bringing up the point where, a lot of the SEC schedules are tougher as well. I know that the Florida State has moved to some serious opening games between Alabama and Georgia. I think that, when do the playoffs expand? Is it 2024, 2025?
I don't think it's this coming year. I think it's the year after, if I understand correctly. And it's going to start with 8, correct? Starts with 8, and then it's going to go. Well, we don't know what it'll go to, but eventually we think it'll go to 12. Is what I believe.
Beginning of the 2024 season.
Yeah.
So the college football playoff will expand to 12 teams beginning in the 2024 season. So that explains these schedules. Because a 3 or 4 loss SEC team with that schedule will be in the top 12, depending on who they are, the rest of the league, of course.
Florida State, as a school, opening up with LSU the first 2 years in a row that we had last year, then again this year. Then we have a 1-year break, and then after that, we have Alabama 2 years in a row, and then Georgia 2 years in a row to open up the season. One of those is going to be a neutral site, and one of those is going to actually, I think Georgia is the one that's going to be a home and home. So it's going to be one in Athens and one in Tallahassee, which is really cool. So I like that a lot better than like the LSU one was cool because we're opening up in New Orleans, and then they're coming here, but it's still not. You're not in your stadium. You know what I mean? Like, just something different about Osceola on top of Renegade, running into the middle of the field and planting the spear at Doak Campbell and the marching Chiefs going crazy, and just, I don't know, something you have to
racist.
You have to experience to describe the feelings that you get as somebody who grew up around that. It's absolutely incredible. But yeah, listen, I'm saying this. I'm ready for Florida State to be gone out of the ACC. I don't know if they're going to take Miami with them as well, too. There's been a lot of pushback, too, because teams like South Carolina and Florida don't necessarily want Clemson and Florida State to enter the SEC because you're talking about market share in your region, right? And the argument that you have if you're those teams is you're playing in the SEC, you're playing in the best conference. If you're going after the same recruits, that's a rallying cry that you can get behind. All of a sudden, if you're now in the same division, now that argument is nullified. You know what I mean? So then what does it come down to? We're going to look at facilities. We're going to look at, what you have for schooling. We're going to look at, NIL money. We're going to look at, all these different factors that go in. It just puts it on a different kind of a plane.
Well, let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there.
So what I'm saying is that when it comes to like South Carolina and Clemson, right? Like South Carolina obviously doesn't want Clemson in the SEC, right? In my opinion.
I don't know.
Do you think that's accurate or no?
I don't know.
Do
They already play them, so I mean, I don't know.
No, but I'm saying, like, do you read message boards and stuff like that when it comes to college or recruiting or 247 or On3 or any of that stuff?
Well, I mean, let's be honest here. South Carolina is getting the scraps of whatever's left anyway. I mean, let's just put that out there. And when we come down to, when you're talking about come down to facility stuff like that, obviously the Florida Gators don't worry about that. They're the top 5 public university in the country. The facilities are unmatched, things of that nature. I think the biggest thing it's going to come down to, forget all of that, it's how much am I getting paid. That's it.
I disagree. I think coaching, I think success, I think a lot of things will factor into it as well too. Because I don't think the money is going to be that different from school to school. Like I don't think
it is. I mean, you got some schools reportedly paying millions. I mean, then you got Texas oil money, right? So Texas is in the SEC now. There's far few people that have as much money as Texas. I mean, they got the Texas oil money, guys. I mean, these guys are worth billions.
You got to think that some of these kids are coming from affluent situations though as well too out there. You know, like it's not.
I look at it this way: if I was a player. And I had 2 schools that were both relatively competitive, right? Relatively competitive. Not top tier, relatively competitive, okay? And I'm going to get the same type of national exposure on both schools. One's offering me $5 million to play for 3 years. One's offering me $1.5 million to play for 3 years. I'm going $5 million every single time. And not even questioning it. Now, if I have a top tier school like Georgia, right? That's offering me $1 million. I'm not going there because not only am I not getting paid enough, I'm probably not going to start right away. So I think a lot of it has to do with playing time. Am I going to start right away? And who's got the bigger bag? All you need is well, you can't do the transfer portal if you sign these NIL contracts because you can, but you got to give the money back or you're not going to get paid. Right? So if somebody is coming with this big of a nut to start with, and that's the biggest nut that you got, it's probably not going to get bigger in the transfer portal. It could, but all I'm saying is all you need is TV exposure and money. That's it. I mean, you got guys getting signed out of South Dakota State. I mean, you got, some of these lesser schools, if you watch the draft, some of these schools, I was like, wait, what? Where's that school at? I mean, as long as you get the exposure, as long as you get your bag, that's all that matters. You're not playing for a chip.
Yeah, everybody on Georgia's defense, though, got drafted from 2 years ago. Like every single player on that defense got drafted to an NFL team. So, while you are correct in some of your takes, I don't agree with that at all. I think if you go to an Alabama or a Georgia and you take a little bit less money and you guarantee yourself a shot to be drafted in the top 3 rounds of the NFL draft, you take that all day, every day.
I respect your opinion, but I'm telling you, what we've seen over the past few years, it's been all about the bank. It's been all about the dollar.
NIL, for the most part, is going to be based off of a year-by-year contract that you have with whoever you are working for, right? They're gonna do a year-by-year thing. Most people aren't signing you a 3-year contract and giving you all 3 years up front.
Most 5-stars are getting 3-year deals. Because you're trying to lock them into your school.
We can try to find an NIL person who correct, but I'm saying you're not getting 3 years of money up front.
No, of course not. But you're still locked into a contract, just like in the NFL.
So,
I mean, that still gives the school control over you.
I can buy you a promise ring, right? As
that's the worst. That's the worst take ever.
Okay, whatever. That's your opinion.
Then why sign an NFL player to a 3 or $15 million deal? There's X amount. There's X amount that's
guaranteed or not. NFL is the only place that the money's not guaranteed. It's the same
you
thing.
Get X amount guaranteed, and the rest is on contract. It's the same with the NIL. You're getting X amount guaranteed as long as you stay, and the rest is you have to work for it. Well, I don't know why you're looking at me like that. You're also the same. Tell me that Rashada Jones didn't have a $15 million offer, and you said that was absolutely egregious. And it came out he did have the $15 million offer.
It didn't come out that he had a $15 million offer.
Oh, I'm done. Do you have anything else you'd like to offer? Add to this before we close out?
I'm good. I look forward to Wednesday, Gap Wedge Wednesday. We
Can't
are
wait.
on to the Travelers Championship. It's going to be fantastic. More great picks that we have for you coming on Wednesday from Paul and Chad. Congratulations again to them. Wyndham Clark. What a hit, man.
Great hit. Great feel-good story. We'll talk to you guys all then. Everybody have a great week. and keep playing.